Kunos has just released the Steam store page for Assetto Corsa Evo, and inside it, there are amazing screenshots. Kunos has announced the Steam store page in Twitter, and we have a few of these screenshots. They are interesting, but we're going to go to the Steam page because there's more. And over here, we can see already many differences between the quality of Evo and the regular Assetto Corsa. This is the interior of a Giulia GT AM. And in terms of details, as you can see, it looks pretty darn good in terms of bokeh and all of that. But the details, the suede or Alcantara here at the center, the Alcantara looks really good. The terms of stitching, the choice of textures and all of that. And look at the color. This is a very special Alfa color for those who have Alfa Romeos and love this color. This color is worth a lot in these cars. If you want to repaint them, well, you're going to pay a lot of money. And look at the depth of this. The color is absolutely fascinating, very well detailed. And you also can see the details that they have on the model itself. It has increased incredibly from the last Assetto Corsa. You can see very much the details in the optics, the choice of details on the textures as well, and everything else. And if you move at the back, we can see good details and textures for the carbon fiber, and you also need to look at the reflections. The reflections between types of surfaces also change a lot. A more polished surface like a carbon fiber or even a glass will have a different, cleaner reflection. But if you sometimes look at the reflections that happen on metallic painting or any type of painting, it's not the same thing, and this game is doing it exactly like that. The reflections of the paint, on metallic paint or on any type of paint, it feels like it's a little more grainy, just like real life, and the color is absolutely amazing. This is the interior of a Giulia Sprint GT. I believe this was in a regular Assetto Corsa, but the interior doesn't seem to be as high poly as the new cars, so this probably is a refurbishment of the old model, but with the new technology, which is kind of normal. This is, I believe, the interior of a Huracan STO Super Trofeo. And once again, you can see the difference between the Alcantara and the multiple types of textures. This, I believe, might be leather or some sort of rubber. And you can see the differences in the way that the light operates, jumping back into rubber and into Alcantara. It's more diffuse here, and here it's a little bit harsher, just like real life. They have been doing a great job. If this is their own graphical engine, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fascinating. And now for the Alpine A110, this blue is wonderful. It's one of my favorite blues out there, and it grabs that attention so nicely. The way that the light falls off into more highlights over here and doesn't become a deep blue like you have on the more darker side, and it has the same type of reflection. So doing these type of paints on racing games is not as easy as just putting a texture of a blue color or whatever. It does have a lot of investigation, and as far as I can see in terms of model, this is actually giving Gran Turismo 7 a run for their money, because it looks incredibly well detailed. Even the optics, like Gran Turismo, they pay a lot of attention to small details like this, like the optics. And this is at the level, if not better than that. Going forward, we can see here a more difficult scene where there's some light coming from the interior, but the outside is dark. In this case, the graphical engine is doing a superb job, I believe. It has a very natural fall off of light, and this is something that we want to see in racing games as well, because it's not just about the racing part, but if you're having a car game or a sim racing game that has a car game counterpart, you also want to see this, because you'll definitely want to do those sorts of screenshots and enjoy also the beautiful part of driving a car, which is the car design itself. I believe this one is the Alpine Renault 5 kind of thing. I believe it's an electrical. I'm not too sure about this car, but it looks quite decent. In here we can see differences between multiple textures. I believe this is forged carbon, and these parts are more plasticky parts, and you can see the differences in paints or the differences in the last application of some sort of sheen or shine at the top, the reflections if you are using some sort of if you're using sort of a transparent paint, which I'm forgetting the name, and you can see there's lots of reflections, and the difference between that and the forged carbon fiber is immense. This is not as simple as just doing the model and putting the stuff into it. You do need to investigate a lot of physical parts of the paint and the textures, and they have done a really good job. It looks very close to real life, and once again, the reflections here are incredibly natural. The fall off of the light, how the light operates into the flakes of the paint. It's very well done. Going next one is this is a Hyundai N74, I believe. You can see it from the back. There seems to be some sort of reflections over here. I'm not sure if this is like the pure red, if they decided to put on the textures aren't perfect, but it looks quite nice. And yeah, this is a Hyundai N74 electrical, so we're going to have at least two electrical models, the Alpine A110, Alpine Renault 5, and this N74 car. And I'm quite interested to see how this is going to develop in Assetto Corsa, if there's going to be any comparisons or competition inside, or cars that are similar to each other. Because if you remember, in Assetto Corsa, you had a bunch of cars, and especially road cars, they didn't have a lot of competition in each other. They didn't have the same balance of performance. Hopefully, there's a way to do some sort of balance of performance. Next, we have another Hyundai, which is the i20N, with this beautiful blue color, the light blue color they have. Wonderful to look at. This is incredibly close to reality. I have seen a few around. A neighbor of mine has one in this color, and it's very hard to differentiate between this color that we see here and what I'm seeing in real life. The only thing that I find more interesting is the textures, or rather the shine on the tires. They seem too clean, or it doesn't have the same depth, but it's very difficult to do the tire shine generally. Next, we're going to have the Mercedes 2.5 16. I don't want to bring Forza much to the comparison, but if you look at the old Forza Motorsport models, or even the Gran Turismo 7, you can see that the Assetto Corsa Evo model, especially on the details that are considered for the rear lights, there's more depth. It seems like they have done a proper good job to make sure that it's just not a texture, it's just a piece of plastic there. There is some sort of layering. You have the paint, you have the texture of the plastic itself, you have the color, and you have something on behind. So this is incredibly close to what I am seeing in real life if I were to see a Mercedes of this generation. I believe this is the interior of that car. I'm not totally sure, but look at the tartans over here. The textile seems, very well detailed. And then we have the leather. I believe, I'm not too sure, this is a roof. I think it's a roof. And once again, it looks amazing. Yeah, it's a Porsche. Probably a roof as well. Very well done. Going next. Oh, it's an old Porsche. It's actually not the roof, because they had the roof in the past. And it's the paint once again. Look at the details of this light. Generally, even on the old Assetto Corsa, they were very simplified, and they went all the way with this. Modeling these headlights and modeling the rear lights, it's something really complicated. I know it's kind of weird to nerd about this, but it's really complicated, and then if they are looking towards the headlights and the rear lights, oh, this is something we need to model well, and they do it. It seems like, okay, we're gonna go all out and make sure this is proper. Wonderful alloys as well. I like the way they done on the paint, though it feels like it lacks a little bit of depth. Maybe it's because of the tires, a complaint I had before, but the colors very well presented, the reflections on these alloys as well. The paint on the brake calipers too. Oh, now we're going to go towards cars that were in Assetto Corsa Competizione. And honestly, this new model this new engine looks much better than I have before. The reflections are fantastic. Yeah, this model, I think it's exactly the same, or if it isn't, it's just barely reworked. But it looks much better on this engine, or if they're using the same engine, they have done something to it. And now we're looking, I think this is Brands Hatch. Yeah, this is Brands Hatch just by Druids. We're looking at, I think it's Chapman's Court over there. This is the grandstands at the center, at the start, at the start of the track. At night, so we're gonna have night and day. Look at this bloom, incredibly natural as well. Yeah, this is Brands Hatch on the first corner, Paddock Hill. So we are seeing some sort of puddling happening. So we're gonna have rain. This is rain. We can see rain all around, and the colors look good. One of the main issues I had, especially with Moto Assetto Corsa, is that when they had situations like this where the light wasn't perfect, it kind of felt very strange, not very real, and you always needed to lower the sun height. And I think they're doing a good job over here. This is once again Brands Hatch going on the Indy, and the puddling seems quite real, and it feels like it's much better than Assetto Corsa Competizione. It was an issue that I had with ACC, was the way they developed the puddling. It didn't feel very good. Hopefully we're going to have something close to Project Cars 2 or now at iRacing in terms of track development. This is Nordschleife, I believe. Yeah, it is Nordschleife, and looks... Wait, is this Nordschleife? We're going to have Nordschleife at the launch? I hope so. What track is this guy? Tell me below. I think this is Nordschleife, but I'm not too sure. This is going to be Imola, and I think they've taken the model from Assetto Corsa Competizione and probably updated a thing or two, and it definitely looks better. And this is once again Imola, and look at the puddling of water. This is fantastic. The reflections, the highlights, the way that the light drops out. And once again, this is one of the variantes in Imola. And do we have more? Yeah, this is Nordschleife. Yeah, we're going to probably have Nordschleife in the launch. I hope it's not a DLC, but probably it's going to be. And if we have this at launch, man, that's fantastic. We don't have to wait. Then what I said last year about in the video about, you know, developing for Assetto Corsa Competizione, so it would be ready for Assetto Corsa Evo or Assetto Corsa 2 at the time that we thought it was going to be called. It makes a whole lot of sense. And I know this is going to sound nerdy, but look at the trees. The trees look really nice, and probably they have new assets for trees as well. And as far as I can see, the way they're developing the trees, or the trees are being rendered, it's much better than Unreal 4. So hopefully this is not Unreal 4. It's going to be their own stuff. I'm not being up to date, and it looks, in my opinion, better than Assetto Corsa Competizione. This is hugely fascinating and exciting. I'll be covering Assetto Corsa Evo when it comes out. Tell me in the comments what you think about this, and also subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to get 100,000 subscribers. See you next time.